I was sitting in my kitchen, drinking my morning coffee, when my daughter-in-law walked in, snatched the mug from my hands, and poured it down the sink. She looked at me with cold eyes and said, "You've had enough caffeine, Margaret." Doctor's orders. I didn't argue. I didn't say a word. I simply stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out the front door. 3 days later, a woman in a gray suit rang the doorbell. But let me start from the beginning. Welcome to my channel. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now, let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you'll love it if you keep listening till the end. My name is Margaret Ellen Whitmore. I am 67 years old, and for 41 years, I worked as a registered nurse at St. Vincent's Hospital in Portland, Oregon. I've held the hands of dying patients, delivered babies in emergencies, and stayed calm when blood was everywhere. I thought I had seen everything life could throw at a person. I was wrong. My husband, Raymond, passed away 6 years ago. Pancreatic cancer, quick and brutal. We had been married for 43 years, raised 2 children, and built a life in our craftsman-style home on Maple Ridge Drive. The house wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Ray and I paid off the mortgage in Latham the same year our son Kevin graduated from college. Kevin was always the quiet one, good grades, polite, never caused trouble. When he married Vanessa 8 years ago, I was thrilled. She was beautiful, articulate, worked in marketing for a tech company. I thought my son had found his match. I was a fool. It started small, as these things always do. After Ray died, Kevin suggested they move in with me. "Just temporarily, Mom, to help you through the grief. The house is too big for one person." I agreed because I was drowning in silence, and having family around felt like a lifeline. Temporary turned into 6 years. At first, Vanessa was sweet. She cooked dinners, helped with laundry, called me Mom with a smile that seemed genuine. But slowly, inch by inch, she began to take over. First, she rearranged my kitchen because it was more efficient. Then she replaced my curtains because they were outdated. Then she started monitoring my diet, my medication, my schedule. "It's for your own good, Margaret," she would say. "Always, Margaret, never Mom anymore. You're getting older, you need structure." Kevin said nothing. My son, who once defended me against schoolyard bullies, now looked at his phone whenever Vanessa spoke to me like I was a child. That morning with the coffee was not the first insult. It was simply the last one I was willing to accept. You see, the night before, I had overheard something I wasn't supposed to hear. Vanessa was on the phone in the guest room, which they had long ago claimed as their master suite. I was walking to the bathroom when her voice stopped me cold. "The old woman doesn't suspect a thing," she laughed. "We've got her exactly where we want her. Kevin's handling the paperwork. By next month, we'll have power of attorney, and then the house transfers to us. She'll sign whatever we put in front of her. She trusts her precious son." I stood frozen in the hallway, my hand on the wall for balance. "No, she won't fight it," Vanessa continued. "She's too soft, too scared of being alone. Besides," Kevin agrees, "he says she's showing signs of dementia anyway. A few more months in that nursing home we picked out, and she'll forget she ever owned anything." Dementia, nursing home, power of attorney. My heart pounded so hard I thought they might hear it through the walls. I crept back to my bedroom on silent feet, the same feet that had walked hospital corridors for 4 decades without waking sleeping patients. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay in the dark and thought. 41 years as a nurse taught me many things: how to stay calm in a crisis, how to read people, how to document everything, and most importantly, how to wait for the right moment to act. The next morning, Vanessa took my coffee. She looked at me like I was an inconvenience, a problem to be managed. I saw her clearly for the first time, saw the calculation behind her eyes, the impatience in her jaw. So I left. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I took my purse, my phone, and my car keys, which I had hidden in my coat pocket after hearing that conversation. I walked out the front door, got in my old Honda Civic, and drove to the one person I knew would help. Dorothy Chen had been the hospital administrator at St. Vincent's for 20 years before she retired. We had worked together, fought together, celebrated together. More importantly, Dorothy's daughter was an elder law attorney named Grace Chen, and I had her number in my contacts from when I helped another nurse navigate her mother's estate. I called Grace from a coffee shop downtown. "Mrs. Whitmore," Grace said, her voice sharp and professional. "My mother speaks highly of you. What's going on?" I told her everything. The conversation I overheard, the 6 years of creeping control, the plan to declare me incompetent and take my home. I spoke calmly, clearly, the way I used to give reports to doctors at shift change. When I finished, Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Can you come to my office right now? And Margaret, do not go back to that house until we have a plan." Her office was on the 15th floor of a glass building downtown. Grace was in her early 40s, with her mother's sharp eyes and a handshake that meant business. "First things first," she said, spreading papers across her desk. "The house. Is it in your name alone?" "Yes. Raymond and I owned it jointly, but it transferred to me entirely when he passed. I have the deed." "Do you have it with you?" "No. It's in my safety deposit box at Columbia Trust Bank, along with my will, my insurance policies, and Ray's death certificate." Grace smiled. "Smart woman. That's the first good news. They can't touch what they can't find." She explained the situation methodically. Power of attorney could not be granted without my signature or a court order declaring me incompetent. To get that order, Kevin and Vanessa would need to prove I couldn't manage my own affairs. Medical evaluations, witness testimony, documentation of cognitive decline. "They're building a case against you," Grace said, slowly so you don't notice. "Every time Vanessa reminds you to take your medication, every time she insists you forgot something, she's creating a narrative. Eventually she'll have Kevin petition the court, claiming you're a danger to yourself." "But I'm not incompetent," I said. "My mind is perfectly clear." "I believe you. But we need to prove it, and we need to act before they do." We made a plan. First, I would get a comprehensive cognitive evaluation from an independent neurologist, someone with no connection to my family. Grace knew exactly who to call. Second, I would gather documentation of my financial competence, bank statements, tax returns, evidence that I had been managing my own affairs successfully for 6 years. Third, and most importantly, I would not return home until we were ready. "Where will you stay?" Grace asked. I thought of my sister, Louise, in Bend. I thought of my old nursing friends. But something in me resisted asking for help. I had money. My own money that Ray and I had saved. I would use it. "I'll get a hotel," I said. "Somewhere they won't think to look." I checked into the Heathman downtown, a place Vanessa would never expect. She thought I was too frugal, too simple, too old to do anything unexpected. She was about to learn otherwise. That night, I ordered room service and sat by the window, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed constantly. Kevin, Vanessa, text after text. "Mom, where are you? We're worried. Margaret, this isn't funny. Come home. Mom, please. Vanessa is upset. She thinks she did something wrong." I turned off my phone. The next morning, I went to the bank and confirmed that my accounts were secure. I was the sole signatory. No one else had access. I also checked my credit report, something I hadn't done in years. That's when I found the first surprise. There was a credit card in my name that I had never opened, a Visa with a Murlem home limit nearly maxed out. The charges were recent: designer handbags, spa treatments, online purchases from stores I had never heard of. The billing address was my house, but the card had been opened with an email address I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I stared at the printout, not from fear, but from clarity. This was identity theft, and I knew exactly who had done it. I called Grace immediately. "Don't confront them," she said. "Don't even hint that you know. We're going to build a case, and we're going to build it carefully. Can you get more documentation?" I could. I spent the next 3 days doing what I did best, gathering evidence. I requested copies of the fraudulent credit card application, and the signatures didn't match mine. I contacted the stores where purchases had been made, and obtained receipts with shipping addresses. I pulled my medical records from my primary care physician and confirmed that there was no documentation of cognitive decline, despite what Vanessa had apparently been telling Kevin. And I found something else. Something that changed everything. While searching through my email, I discovered that someone had been forwarding my messages to another account. Bank notifications, doctor's appointments, everything. It was Vanessa's personal email. She had been monitoring me for months. Grace was impressed. "You should have been a detective." "I was a charge nurse," I replied. "It's basically the same thing." On the third day, I was ready. Grace had prepared everything. A cease and desist letter regarding the fraudulent accounts, a formal notice revoking any implied permission for Kevin and Vanessa to reside in my home, and a police report documenting the identity theft. She had also scheduled my neurological evaluation for the following week. The woman in the gray suit who rang my doorbell was Grace's associate, a paralegal named Sandra. She handed Kevin the envelope personally while he stood in my doorway, his face shifting from confusion to shock to something that looked almost like shame. I wasn't there to see it. I was still at the Heathman, watching it all unfold from a distance. But Grace called me afterward. "He read the papers twice," she said. Then Vanessa came to the door and started screaming. Something about how you had no right, how they had given up their lives for you. Sandra didn't engage. She just confirmed service and left. My phone rang 30 seconds later. "Kevin." I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Mom," his voice cracked. "Mom, what is this? There are police reports here. Accusations. They're saying Vanessa committed identity theft." "Did she?" Silence. "Kevin, I'm going to ask you once. Did you know about the credit card in my name?" More silence. Then, quietly, she said she was helping. She said you forgot about it, that you were confused, and she was just managing things. "I see. Mom, please, come home. We can talk about this." "I am home," I said. "In a hotel room downtown, where I've been for 3 days while you and your wife planned to put me in a nursing home and steal my house." His breath caught. "How did you—" "I heard her on the phone, Kevin. I heard every word. The old woman doesn't suspect a thing. Is that what I am to you now? The old woman?" He started crying. My son, 38 years old, sobbing into the phone like a child. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to smooth this over, to make it easy. That part of me had been making things easy for everyone else for 67 years. Not anymore. "You have 30 days to move out," I said. "That's the legal notice. If you're still there on day 31, I'll have you formally evicted. The identity theft charges are a separate matter. That's between Vanessa and the police." "Mom, she's my wife. I can't just—" "You can do whatever you choose, Kevin. But you will do it somewhere else. My house is no longer available." I hung up. The next 2 weeks were a hurricane of phone calls, legal documents, and revelations. The neurologist confirmed what I already knew. I was sharp as a tack, no signs of cognitive decline, fully capable of managing my own affairs. His report went into my file like armor. The police investigated the identity theft. It turned out Vanessa had opened 3 accounts in my name, not just one. Total debt, $42,000. She had been using my credit to fund a lifestyle she couldn't afford on her marketing salary, which, I also learned, she no longer had. Vanessa had been laid off 8 months ago and never told Kevin. He found out when the detective called. My son showed up at my hotel 2 days later, alone. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. I met him in the lobby, not my room. I wasn't ready to let him that close yet. "She lied to me," he said, staring at his hands, "about everything. The job, the money, the plans. I thought we were saving to buy our own place. I thought the accounts were healthy. She controlled all the finances. She said it was easier that way. And the nursing home? The power of attorney?" He flinched. "She said you were declining. She had all these examples, times you forgot things, times you seemed confused. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. It was easier than fighting. You were going to put your mother in a facility and take her house. I was going to protect you." His voice broke. "Or that's what I told myself. God, Mom, what did I become?" I looked at my son, at the lines on his face that hadn't been there 6 years ago, at the defeated slope of his shoulders. I thought about all the times I had made excuses for him, smoothed his path, protected him from consequences. I had raised a man who chose the path of least resistance, even when that path led over his own mother. You became someone who stopped thinking for himself, I said, and that's something only you can fix. He left that day. I didn't offer him a place to stay or money for a hotel. He was 38 years old with a college degree and a working body. He would figure it out. The 30 days passed quietly. I stayed at the hotel, then moved to a short-term rental near the river. I wasn't ready to go back to the house yet. It didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt contaminated. On day 29, I got a text from Kevin. "We're out. Keys on the kitchen counter." I didn't respond. I went to the house the next morning with Grace's paralegal, Sandra, as a witness. We did a walkthrough and documented everything. The walls had nail holes where they'd hung their art. The carpet in the master bedroom was stained. The backyard, which Ray and I had spent decades cultivating, was overgrown and neglected. But the bones were good. The house was still standing. And it was mine. I spent the first week cleaning. Not just the surfaces, but the energy. I donated every piece of furniture they had bought. I painted the walls a warm sage green, a color Ray and I had always talked about but never gotten around to. I planted new roses in the backyard and fixed the fence they had let deteriorate. My friend Dorothy came over with her daughter Grace for lunch when I was done. We sat on the back patio, drinking iced tea, looking at the garden. "You did it," Dorothy said. "You actually did it." "I almost didn't," I admitted. "For 6 years, I let them chip away at me because I was afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of losing my son. Afraid of conflict. And now?" I thought about it. About the quiet mornings with my coffee, no one snatching it from my hands. About sleeping through the night without Vanessa's footsteps overhead. About making my own decisions, on my own schedule, in my own home. Now I know that being alone is not the same as being lonely. And being surrounded by family is not the same as being loved. Grace smiled. "That's the title of a self-help book, right there." I laughed. It felt good to laugh again. 3 months later, Kevin filed for divorce. Vanessa had been arrested for the identity theft, then released on bail, then arrested again for violating a restraining order by showing up at my house at Higham and screaming that I had ruined her life. I called the police and didn't feel a moment of guilt. Kevin reached out after the divorce was finalized. A handwritten letter, the first he'd sent since he was at summer camp 30 years ago. "Mom," he wrote, "I don't expect you to forgive me. What I did, what I allowed to happen, was unforgivable. But I want you to know that I'm in therapy now. I'm working on understanding how I let someone else do my thinking for me. I'm working on becoming the man Dad raised me to be. If there's ever a chance to rebuild something between us, I'll spend the rest of my life earning it. Love, Kevin." I didn't respond right away. I let the letter sit on my desk for 2 weeks while I thought about what forgiveness meant, what it cost, and what it was worth. Then I wrote back, "Kevin, I don't forgive you yet. That will take time, and it may never come completely. But I'm not closing the door. If you want to have coffee sometime, just the two of us, I'm willing to try. I will not pretend the past didn't happen, and I will not make this easy for you, but I am still your mother, and part of me will always hope that you can become someone worth knowing again. Call me when you're ready. Not before. Love, Mom." He called 3 days later. We met at a cafe downtown. It was awkward, stilted, filled with long silences, but it was a start. That was 6 months ago. We've had coffee twice more since then. Each time is a little easier. Each time, I see a little more of the boy I raised and a little less of the man Vanessa created. I don't trust him yet, but I'm watching. And I'm hoping. Last month, I started a group. Nothing official, just a few women I met through Dorothy's church who were in similar situations. Elderly women whose children or grandchildren were taking advantage of them, stealing their money, threatening their independence. We meet every Wednesday at my house, drink tea, and share stories. One woman, Patrice, was about to sign her house over to her grandson because he said he needed it for investment purposes. We walked her through the questions to ask. the red flags to watch for, the resources available to protect herself. She left our meeting with Grace's phone number and a new understanding of her own worth. "You saved my house," she told me last week, hugging me tight. "No," I said, "you saved your house. I just reminded you that you could." I'm sitting in my living room now, in the recliner Ray bought me for my 60th birthday. The walls are sage green. The roses are blooming outside. My coffee is hot and sweet, exactly the way I like it, and no one is going to take it from my hands. The doorbell rings. It's probably Dorothy, coming over to help me plan next week's meeting. Or maybe it's Kevin, stopping by to show me he remembered my birthday. Or maybe it's a stranger, someone selling something I don't need. It doesn't matter. Because whoever it is, I'll answer on my own terms. I'll decide what to let in and what to keep out. I'll set the boundaries and enforce them. For 67 years, I gave my strength away freely. To patients, to my husband, to my children, to anyone who needed it. I thought that's what women did. I thought that's what mothers were for. Now I know better. Now I know that the most important patient is yourself. The most important boundary is the one around your own life. And the most important word in the English language is no, when it's spoken at the right time, to the right person, for the right reason. I finish my coffee and put the mug down. The doorbell rings again, more insistent this time. I smile, take my time standing up, and walk to the door. My house, my rules, my life, and I'm just getting started. I'm really glad you're here and that I could share my story with you. If you liked it, show me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us there are. Write in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. If you want to support me a little extra, you can also send a small donation. I share new life stories for you every single day. And now, 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen, so you can choose what to watch next.